Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. It's Yaak Kasamak Ban Yasharala. It's another video blog of some thoughts I had from my readings the last couple days, specifically today though. Was reading in Ecclesiasticus chapter 47, starting right around the 15th or 16th verse down to the end. It was talking about, the whole verse kind of talks about our forefathers, how David was set apart, and then, how he pleased the Most High, and because of that, his son Solomon, seeing peace, he had a reign of peace, and many people really appreciated that from Solomon, out of Solomon's reign when he was on the earth, because when there's peace, people are happy, especially when husbands and sons are not going to war and dying in war and that. And you talk about biblical times when you went to war, the side who won the war would then come through the town, through the country, and would gather up the survivors for as slaves, people that didn't, there wasn't soldiers that didn't fight, didn't pose a threat. They'd be slaves. They'd take their women and do horrible things to them and to the children. And in a couple cases, especially when it comes to us, the Hebrews, they killed our kids. They was trying to wipe us out. But Solomon had a reign of peace. He's talking about, and said he gathered gold like tin and silver like lead. Things that were easy to come by, things that were not of great value, but were in abundance. And he gathered that stuff up like it was no big deal. We know that he had wealth, and that he was a wise king. He was our wisest king ever. And the Bible says the wisest man that ever lived. Nobody had the wisdom that he had outside of Mashiach, of course. But it says that the one thing though that really got him was he couldn't control his loins, and we know that. I believe he had 300 wives, 700 concubines, something to that effect. It was right around 1,000 women. And in the end, though a lot of those women, because they were of other nations, they had other beliefs, because he didn't exercise self-control or restraint in that area, that sent a ripple effect down the nation, starting with his own sons were wicked. It caused the kingdom to split in two, when whereas the nation of Israel was one nation up until Solomon. His lack of discipline ended up causing the nation to split in two, and that's why we now have the kingdom of Judah and the kingdom of Israel, or the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Israel, or house of Judah, house of Judah, house of Israel, because of Solomon and the things that he did and didn't do. Because it says plainly, and I should have gotten the scripture. I didn't think about it, but I know that it says that kings should not multiply wealth to themselves and horses to themselves and that kind of thing, because when you have too much of that stuff, many things can happen. You can start to have confidence in that instead of confidence in the Most High. Those things can easily become idols. That causes people around you. It affects people around you, because then they start seeing that, and then greed could enter into them. The spirit of greed, spirit of jealousy. So all those. There's a lot of reasons for that. But the thing that Solomon, didn't deal with properly was his own self-control, and that affected many things. And so starting with his own house all the way down to the nation, and it says that, and it talks about that in Ecclesiasticus 47, again right around 15th verse down to the bottom. You can kind of read the progression of it. So when I read things like that, then I go, my thought process is, okay, how can I how can I use this for my own personal life? And then also, after that, because I try to always look inwardly first, look at my own personal life first. But then also, I'm also thinking about, okay, I also want to help the next person too, as well. So making sure that, not just making sure that I don't have any idols like money or women. Well, that would be the same thing Solomon went to, but other idols that are easy, whether it be, a physical idol, something made with hands, which, a lot of people don't really worship like that. As far as, maybe in this country it's not as common. In other countries it is. Buddhists, they have a big statue of Buddha. So, if they're here, then they probably do have those statues. A lot of Catholics do bow down and pray to statues of Mary. So I retract that statement. A lot of people do have physical idols like that. But I personally don't. Not that I know of, not physical idols, but the Most High is still purging out of me, idols that maybe I have set up in my mind or in my heart that's holding me back from being all of the person that He really has designed and wants me to be. So He's purging those things out of me. So I'm trying to, as I see things like that, that's why I always look inwardly, and ask the Most High, what is in me that's like this, that could be harmful. And it's uncomfortable, and it's not fun, it's not, but it's necessary. And I'd rather go through that pain now than later. I reread a story in 2 Maccabees chapter 8, I believe it was, about a woman who had 7 sons. And this is a historical event. A woman had 7 sons. When we were in the going through the Greek captivity, Antiochus did not like us at all. He did not like the Hebrews because we have been very we've been very serious about our laws and about the way we live. So he started to give us ultimatums: either worship like we worship, worship these gods and do what we do, or you're going to get put to death. So the thing that he really started trying to get our ancestors to do is eat pork. And it says that, go read it, to taste swine's flesh. That's really because he knew that we were not dealing with that was unlawful for us to do. Besides sacrifice to idols and other things, he really wanted us to eat pork. And so what he did with this woman and her 7 sons is he started at the oldest son and gave him an ultimatum: either eat pork or die. So he chose to die, but what they did is they tortured him. They cut out his tongue first, because he said, there's no way I'm going to do this. I'm not going to transgress against the laws of the Most High. You can do what you want to my body, but I'm going to stay true to the Most High power of Israel, because I know that after this life, there's another life. There's something else beyond this, and that's what I'm thinking about. That's where my eyes are fixed. So do what you want. As painful as it might be, as uncomfortable as it might be, I don't care. I'm not going to do it. So they cut out his tongue, and then they cut off his arms and his legs. They cut off his limbs. And so he was just a torso, but he was still alive. I don't know if they knew how to cut those things off without hitting major arteries, or they cauterized them real quick, burned them so they wouldn't bleed out, because you have major arteries in your leg, especially, you can bleed out within a couple minutes. So whether they did that or they cut them off, and then they had already heated hot frying pans, or big frying pans and cauldrons, so big bowl, like pots, big pots, and they threw them in after they were burning hot. So basically cooked him to death is what they did, because he wouldn't eat pork. He wouldn't renounce the laws. Now that's some dedication right there. But not only that, they let the mom and the other sons and his brothers watch this, and then they went to the next son and said, now what are you going to do? And they went all the way down the line to the last son and even the mom. Read the story for yourselves. There's more details that I'm skipping over. Read the story for yourself, but they all died. They all stood fast on, we're not going to go away from the laws of our Elohim, of our Elohim. And so I read things like that, and I'm just like, how can I have any less of an attitude in a day and age where I don't have to? I'm not afraid of that right now. I'm not saying that maybe won't be the case where it's either renounce the Most High or die. And I hope if ever it came to that I would take the stance that these young brothers took, that this mother took. And my thinking is, my mind is, this is the time to be preparing for something like that, to be so steadfast. If I can get rid of these idols, if I can read more instead of watch TV and movies more, if I can watch what I eat, because it does matter, even though pork, I haven't eaten pork for several decades. But I tell you what I used to eat was scallops. I loved scallops. I like shrimp too, but scallops, man, were every time I would go somewhere and I could, see, big, jumbo scallops or something on the menu, that's what I was gonna do. Which is weird, because it wasn't even like, I think it was just the texture. It's like they didn't really have like a distinct taste to them or flavor to them. They, you have to season them. But I don't know. I really loved them. I really liked them. So, but I chose to put those down. To me, that's a small thing. So I can't eat scallops anymore. Okay. Okay. Why is that such a big deal? Some people make such a big deal of what you cannot eat. There's so many other things that I get that I can't eat. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm just hoping that my reserve, my mental capacity will be that of these examples that I read about, that I will stand, in the face of adversity, stand for the Most High, that I will continue to allow the Most High to reveal to me areas of my life that need correction, and then allow Him to correct them instead of, resisting, and then that, ultimately being my downfall, and or affecting people around me, my family, and the people down the line, the people that come after me. It said that Solomon was well known because of the peace and his knowledge and his wealth, but that his name, he had brought a stain to his honor because he couldn't control his loins. That's a big deal. Go read that. You'll see that. And so, a lot of times when I'm, so far I've done a few of these, it always goes back to the laws, and that's just what the Most High's put in me. He doesn't have me breaking down doctrine, teaching doctrine, trying to combat false doctrine and all those things. There are people for that. I'm not one of them. You know what I can't get away from? The laws. Learning the laws, reading the laws, keeping the laws. I can't get away from it. So that's, that's what He's got. And so that's what I talk about. And you might say, well, what laws? There's a list of so-called 613, and I say so-called because I've gone through the majority of that list and do not believe that all 613 come from the Most High. I believe there's a lot of tradition in there that we've adopted. So we have to go through that ourselves and let the Spirit of the Most High guide us and lead us to what we should or should not be doing, what laws we should or shouldn't be keeping. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but you have to understand that list was put together not by our ancestors, but by the imposters, the people that call themselves Jews but are not. And that should raise a red flag in your life. In your mind. That should raise a red flag. Anything that comes from them, you really should be checking that. You really should be checking that, because a lot of that stuff is just, they've distorted a lot of it. In Revelations, the book of Revelation, it says twice that they are of the synagogue of Satan. So what did Satan do in the Garden of Eve? He posed a question that caused her to doubt and slightly changed what the Most High said, which led her into sin. Why wouldn't he do the same thing with these imposters? through these imposters. Cause them to slightly change what the Most High said to get us confused and doubting, and leads us right into sin. And what is sin? Breaking the Most High's laws. That's what sin is. So I encourage you to look into that. Look into those things. I know that, we got to get rid of these lies, and we got to combat the false doctrines that we've learned. We got to unlearn some things. But while you're doing that, don't neglect the laws. Don't neglect learning how to live. Not just the lies that you've learned, but we got to learn how to live again, how to be the light in a dark world. And the way that we do that is by how we live. It's not just by what you say. Talk is cheap. Anybody can talk. But how do you live? And the more you live righteously, when people are around and when people are not around, the more you are honest about the way you live, then the more power your words will have. Because people can tell when somebody is speaking when somebody's speaking truth from experience, when they're not just talking out the side of their mouth, as so to speak. So that's my thoughts for today anyway. Hope y'all have a wonderful day. And with that I say, Shalom.